Welcome to the Archotechs, a RimWorld fluid ideology series about pursuing the Archonexus. Episode 69, Cold Bog Home Improvement. To briefly recap last episode, we managed to get some new enjoyment in our rec room. We also built the geothermal generator, and that took over the role of all of the wood fire generators that we had previously. We were attacked by a rather large swarm of scythers, and I managed to save one of the turrets that came under scyther attack, but I have not yet added these turrets to the home zone, so I have to do that now. So thank you, Brigadier, for pointing that out. Then we went to an ancient complex and hacked it, and received one of the 5 pieces of information about the last relic that we're trying to obtain. What I'm hoping to do this episode is to get a lot of the base nice and fireproof. I'd also like an independent slave quarter that is only slightly attached to the base. We're also going to need to deal with all of, well, all of the spoils of that ancient complex. One of the things that is ideal is we did get gold, which means a reliquary is going to be built soon. Let's keep adding these turrets to the home zone, making sure that they don't get destroyed needlessly. And I guess the last thing we did was we donated the temporary slaves that we had to a royal tribute collector, raising Trustin's honor surplus up to 10, and then re-enslaved the 2 slaves that we wanted, the ones that were going to be good at work. So we have slave 1 who's going to be good at cooking, and 2 at mining. Oh, and then this guy here trying to escape. That's cute. Let me just lock him in. He was actually going to be released. He is of the Brio people, and we released one of the Brio people already, bringing us up to neutral. We need to be allied to complete the Archonexus. One thing I did not do ahead of time is to get the 2 slaves raffled off. So as we replace the floors from wooden to limestone, I'm going to run those raffles. Should only take but a second or 2. I've mentioned this in the past, but the way I do this is I have on Discord a little raffle channel that is accessible to my Patreon patrons. And they can enter the raffles that they're eligible to enter in. And then when there's something to be raffled off, I just roll a random number between 1 and however many entrants there are to come up with a raffle winner. So, slave 2, you are Shay. All right, and let me raffle off slave 1. Got it. All right, slave 1. Tomorrow. There we go. Another thing that I think we probably ought to do sooner or later is to get some Tinctoria planted. Now, it's September 4th. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a lot of Tinctoria before it gets far too cold. But in the future, or when this cotton is harvestable, and cotton is a little weird to have now that I went to that ancient complex. We probably have a lifetime supply of cotton already. Now, the clothing here was originally intended to be a donation in order to seal an alliance, but I think it's also probably pretty logical to sell it, because that's pretty decent as well. So 2,800 silver coming our way, and there is not that much that I want to buy off of them. Oh, there is gold. I'll buy their gold. I'm going to get Trustin to start building the reliquary. So the reason why the gold for me is so important is the reliquaries are going to allow the relics that we have to be installed in the relic room. And the benefit of that, of course, is when the relics are present during whatever rituals that are undertaken here in this room, we're going to get permanent mood benefits, even if the rituals don't go in our favor. So it's a very nice, positive effect. One that we've been waiting on for quite some time. Alright, so I have released the last of the prisoners. I wanted to wait until I thought they were healthy enough to walk out on their own. We have a grizzly bear in the animal pen. Yeah, no we don't. Not in a minute we won't. You don't get to kill my foal. That's not going to happen. Not today, not ever. You're going to become a new duster. Congratulations. I'm going to hit Trustin with a work drive. There's a lot of construction to be done. Other things that I need to do is to maybe make poor No Luck's bedroom nicer, warmer, something like that. So I'm going to bring No Luck's bedroom up to par, not completely with the other ones, because it is not all that likely that we're going to fine floor it. But maybe we will. I mean, who knows? Here we go. That's a pattern I can live with. Another research technology that I think would be pretty useful after transport pods might be moisture pumps. Moisture pumps would allow us to remove some of the negative terrain affordance in and around the base, allowing us to wall up what otherwise wouldn't be allowed to be walled up. Another thing that I wanted to employ, now that we have solar researched, is to get enough solar panels to offset the sun lamps. If I manage to offset the sun lamps with solar, we definitely could get a second farm going. Perhaps one somewhere around here. There seems to be a lot of green in these spots, and that would allow us to somewhat efficiently grow, so we don't have to use hydroponics. There we go. We've got one of the reliquaries. And Trustin's going to sleep. And I could tell No Luck to grab the other. because I did manage to buy enough gold to build both. We have 51 gold left over. Now with the ground pen scanner, I'd also be able to search for gold nodes on this map tile. So it'd be good to get the scanner up and running. Here's the caveat. The scanner needs to be unroofed, and I don't really have a good place to put an unroofed scanner. Maybe here. Because wherever we leave it, it obviously won't stay warm in that room. So it's going to be somewhat important to make sure that it is in a room that temperature doesn't really matter. And we have disease flu, unfortunately. And that means Kadath here is going to need a little R&R. I think it makes a whole lot of sense to set up some animal beds here. And then to install them for Kadath and Evil Runner. They've been doing a lot of work for us, and the bed will help them recover faster. And it's only a small price of cloth, which means it's going to be very easy and an inexpensive way to have Kadath recover from illness. Because they're still hauling from the shuttle landing over to the temporary wolf storage. But here Kadath goes to get healed up. Now the other issue that I have is I don't really have a lot of medicine. My herbal meds is a whopping 2. All the more reason to build some solar and offset the cost of the sun lamps. So perhaps I make an effort to do that now. Let's get some solar out here. So I like to space the solar out so it doesn't overlap with one another or with walls so that we can move around a little bit easier. So those solar panels are in spots that I think allow us to navigate around it more easily, which is ideal. I am going to need to move this turret, however, because the dead power underneath the turret is going to get powered on as the solar panel gets built. Something else I might want to do down here, now that I have plenty of resources, is sterile tile here instead of just limestone tile, so that it is faster for our research to work. We're almost done hauling all the garbage, and I didn't even have to high priority haul it. There's just not a lot of work to be done in the colony at the moment, which means that we're gaining a lot of efficient hauling going. The Dusty installation. So here, another complex with information about the Relic of Hegemony. That would be good to go after, seeing that the last one has funded us enough cloth to last us, oh, I don't know, weeks, months, longer. Once both of the current relics that I own are installed in the reliquary, I'll go ahead and do the scarification for Tombolo and Shay, who are likely to stick around a little bit longer in our colony, more so than the previous slaves that had personality traits and work abilities that just didn't make them highly valuable. Oh, slaves, you get to wake up for that. Tombolo, why weren't you... I guess it's one fire. This space out here is purposefully not added to the home zone, because if it was, we would constantly be cleaning it. This is where the wolves deliver weapons and whatnot. Something else that I could do is to add the fence to the home zone, so it gets automatically repaired. And we have so many horses. Just so many. It just... every time I look away, there are more horses somehow. One thing that is becoming very, very clear to me is my need for a method to efficiently get rid of weapons we don't want. Yeah, we obviously need that badly. Oh, a shaman merchant. Wait a minute. That's a pretty effective way to get rid of weapons we don't want, I think. And Zalev, let's go ahead and have you install that in the reliquary. Now, I kind of want the morbid slab before I finish up. Oh, what happened here? A brownout. Really? Oh, yeah. Definitely a brownout. This is easy to fix. Let's just slap together these solar panels and brownout be gone. Won't affect us anymore. I may even need additional solar panels to offset what the sun lamp is going to require. For browning out with just one sun lamp, adding more is probably a bad idea. So they have plasteel, which is surprising. I would not have expected that. I'm going to buy their gold, because we don't yet have a source of it. I'm going to buy an Insane Lance as well. They're pretty clutch. Animal pulsers can be very handy in order to deal with mechanoids, especially on the Cold Bog, which has a pretty decent fauna max count. And then to pay for this, I'm going to sell 2 of the female horses. I think... hold on, it will be even weirder if I sell the male one, so that it's Josmo and basically all female horses after that. So this is the stable of Josmo. Just seems so strange. But yeah, that'll work. All right. Another thing that I'm going to need to do is to get the components queue ramped up considerably, because we had just burned all of our components making the solar panels. So I'm going to have Trustin throw at least 3 components together really quickly, because these 2 power generators aren't even powered into the grid, as we're waiting on components for that solar. Luckily, he's very fast at this. And I'm going to force him to then use those components on the panel rather than the heater that I had queued up. So Trustin, that means I want you smithing over construction. I didn't realize that the component count went so low. Now there are still these pods here. I do intend to open those up. One of the reasons why I was waiting until now is previously we were a little overtaxed with the amount of prisoners and slaves that we had. I don't have a proper prisoner room though, so it might be good to get a designated prisoner room before popping the Ancient Danger so that I actually have a place to put them. Take a look at terrain affordance. One of the obvious directions that we could take this. So just thinking about it logistically. Logistically, you want your prison to be as close to the kitchen as possible so that the amount of distance, total distance having to travel to the prison is a minimum. I could even potentially put it here, incorporating this chimney as a side door. So before I jump to that, let's figure out where grow lamps would go. Because if we want to get more farms up, it might be nice to plan that ahead of time. Maybe here for one of them. So I'm going to build that and then put the farming zone there so that I can visualize it. And I'm not sure I'll go for a third. If I did, perhaps somewhere in this nested nook where we can moisture pump out. Maybe probably there or here. Because we can turn this mud into soil with a moisture pump. But we are ready for some scarifications. So let's go ahead and scarify Shay. We have the 2 relics installed. And slabs. It is an extremely impressive temple. At least 120 impressiveness, but of course, we're higher than that. And you got scarified straight to your head. Bunny is not messing around. She really is bloodlust, isn't she? And it was boring. Well, see, the good news is I can immediately go into the next one and hopefully offset that. So scarification for Tombolo. One of the issues with getting high quality rituals is I have a pretty low population right now, which means that the result of my rituals typically will be lower. And straight to the torso. I suppose the good news of scarifying the torso and the head... Oh, wow, you just got worse at that. Is that, if you lose your scar, you've also lost your life. One of the issues with, like, scarifying legs or eyes or ears or whatever is you can lose a leg or an eye and then you lose the scar. But you can't really lose your torso. You can't really lose your head. Not without, you know, dying. So how is Kadath doing? Flu minor. Seemed to be fine. So if I was to build additional solar panels, I would probably want to put them on the west side of the map, because we have most of the power generation on the east side, and that's already a lot of eggs in one basket. So if I had a raid come in from the east, especially like a breacher raid that just smashes through these, it would really do a lot of damage to the base. So it's good to sort of spread out your power generation unless it's very well secured, which in my case it is not. And more horses. More children of Josmo here. The father brother Josmo. That's not disturbing, but a very common theme anyway. No-Luck's bedroom is almost all tiled up. Okay, transport pods are done. Now I had left the research room untiled because I do intend to sterilize it. And then sterile materials is a prerequisite for hospital beds anyway. So that leads one to another useful one. Hospital beds and vital monitors are absolutely paramount for recovering from illnesses, so getting that would be pretty handy for us. Now don't ask me why, I can't tell you, but I do like to clean up the rock rubble once I'm done mining. Looking at it, it's very ugly, and because rain never gets rid of rock rubble, it's just a preference of mine to tidy it up. Trustin is almost through the amount of components that he requires. We have some of the ancient complex stuff to break down, but we're almost done limestoning, which means our constructors will start to be able to work on the expansion for prisoners and farms. It is also getting colder. It's later and later and later in the season. So you can see the wild plants out here dying out. And at some point, the horses will not be able to feed themselves via grazing. We're getting pretty close to that point, I think. So we'll have to turn it back over to simple meals or something else. Setting Trustin back on construction here. Sterile materials is done. That was extraordinarily fast. Shields would be really good for the slaves to have shield belts in order to become very tanky cannon fodder, as that's what I typically do with him. And let's go ahead and get sterile tiles in the research room. I don't think this research room is going to change at all, so it'd be good to just set it up as the hospital that it will end up being. Oh, and there we go, the ground pen scanner. Plop dead power there so that we can turn it on and off remotely. And here is the grow zone. So with this grow zone in mind, I should plan on having 4 tiles outside of the grow zone, which are for the heaters and the lights. So standing lamp, And standing lamp. It's very hard to see where this grow zone is, so I'm going to cue a cut plant just so I can check out the work area, because it's just being obscured by plants at the moment. Oh, evil runner. He's deciding live hairs is better than dead corpses. Sure. Sure. Makes sense. And then Bunny is going ahead and getting the cotton. I know all this cotton is not necessarily grown yet. But I'm going to change it back over to rice anyway. So we're not going to get necessarily full yield, but that's just because some of the zones here are rich soil and some are not. There we go. Our laboratory is fully sterile. Now I still really need planter slaves. I have a cook and a miner, but planting would be very, very helpful, especially as I am expanding the farms. I'm also going to trigger no luck to craft over art so that I can get rid of some of the weapons that are just laying around. Although it seems to me like I need to put a ingredient radius on slag, because we are hauling slag from across the map, which makes no sense whatsoever. I want to get rid of those weapons. What I could do is try to find the slag and trigger it to be hauled. Because what might end up happening is that our wolves haul the slag for us if they have nothing better to do. Seems like Kadath has recovered, I'm assuming? Yep. And is hauling slag. Exactly as I predicted. So in terms of predators, we do have 2 grizzly bears and 2 polar bears out here. So that's something to watch. As the flora dies off and there aren't berries to eat wild, it's going to be hunting season on my horses. And I want to keep them away from the horses if I can. Also, looking at the amount of meat that I have, it wouldn't be terrible to top up. So I'm going to trigger hunting for them. And a warg. Nothing that Zalab can't handle. Shields and shield belts are now done. If I am expanding the farm here, Psychoid Brewing and Double Strand would be obvious ones that should be very fast, given that they're tribal technology and not requiring a lot of research. And I hope to get the second farm up and running soon. I think to help out, I'm going to have Sven help sow the rice so that we can get there quicker. So a smelt weapon, done forever. Why are we not smelting the breach axes? It's because they weren't selected. We also have an SMG, auto pistols. Now that I think about it, every single weapon that we have in this base right now could be smelted because none of them matter to me. Not a single one. There we go. A queue for the shield belts. Well done. It is staying fairly temperate in this base. I might need to add some additional heaters. Just keeping an eye on that. It's down to about 18C, which should be fine. And Sven and Bunny have fully harvested and sown this farm field, so we should be cutting back these plants so that I can set up the second farm. It's a legendary shield belt, and we also got cargo pods of yayo. Nothing like drugs from the sky. Shot to the brain. So if I do incorporate this space as a farm, we'll have to think about what that looks like. So that we can possibly put prisoners here in this spot. And this is the last polar bear, and then I think all that we have left is the warg. And then all of the apex predators on this home tile will have been eliminated. And Trustin is already making the dusters. Good. We're back to life normal as we know it. So we have lights, we have heaters, and then we're going to have to decide on the walls. Some of these walls are going to be blocked as a result of terrain affordance. And I'll get moisture pumps up soon. Now, another issue that we're going to have is that the farm and the freezer are going to have to be separated by doors just like we did before. And I'll leave one tile here just so that there's some ease of movement. So that's one wall. But I do typically double wall. So I'll double wall these in, and then I'll probably end up removing some of the double walls because some of these spots are going to be where we store prisoners, I think. So we have quite a few bridges to make. And that's what it'll look like. So then let's trim this off here and bring these walls down so that this could be a prisoner holding area. And that all seems well designed. More or less. And that will look like a door here. Perhaps not a wooden one, though. I'm going to put a plasteel door. just so that if they do choose to fight me and break out, there's one honker of a door to stop them from being able to get out easily. Now you may wonder, why am I not using the heat from the freezers to warm the farms? It would be really efficient, it's just very hard to control. And that's why I don't typically do it. And this should be the warg hunt. And then the apex predators. Oh, nope, a cougar has shown up. Luckily, the cougar is very close to the base. Should be easy to hunt. Now, if we've added a second farm, it might be wise to add additional power generation. And I was eyeballing this spot here. Because this is sort of tucked away in a nook that's not likely to get interrupted by enemies unless they arrive at the north, which is a risk that we'll take. Well, the weapons seem to be smelted pretty good. Most of those breach axes are gone. We're left with a bunch of tribal weapons that I could, of course, load into a transport pod once I have a biorefiner and a transport pod set up, and just launch them to whomever. Suckhead Brewing and Devil Strand. Maybe I'll set up 2 batteries now, rather than the 1. We'll actually get switched batteries. Which is a little long overdue. So if we have a power surge, we still have batteries to hold charge. And then that frees up this area for a biofuel refiner. Oh, speaking of a power surge, although that power surge was expected because this whole area is heaters in the snow cause surges. So that was a surge that I caused, not one that is random in the game. There's 2 types of surges, of course. Ones where you're at fault and ones that are random. This needs to be either powered off or roofed off in order not to surge. So I'll just power it off for now. I think a lot of this work will be done a lot faster if I got these doors set up. Because traveling around the base constantly is a massive detriment to our construction speed. So that will help out considerably. That's the last tree that is blocking construction, and now it's just a matter of finishing the project, which, might I add, looks like I need limestone fairly desperately. I'm out. So I will enable or re-enable the stone cutting queue. And then I should look to see what limestone there is around the base. Which is to say basically none, because I've been stone cutting like crazy. So that we can queue up the limestone to be hauled. And have the wolves haul it as well. So there's the prison. And I'm going to repurpose... Let's see here. I'm going to repurpose some of these beds into the future prison. Keeping the masterwork bed for the slaves. And that way we'll be able to capture the ancient soldiers in the crypto caskets if they don't die. Big if, because I kind of expect them to die. And then Sven is going to go back to research over plant cutting and growing so that I can get that farm going. Also, let's get rid of this corpse that's in there. That's just not necessary to have a rotting grizzly bear in our farm. Might be good for fertilizer, but probably adds a unbearable taste. Okay, I'm sorry. Shouldn't have said that. And then, of course, this prison is going to need lights and heat. Unless we want to freeze the prisoners to death. It's probably not. Sounds like a bad idea. We're actually trying to imprison them. And all the light and the heat will add to the required strain on our power grid. But I am out of time. And we also have a mech hive raid dropping kind of everywhere, scattered. So we'll have to pick that up next episode. Thank you for tuning in to episode 69 of the Archotechs Cold Bog Home Improvement. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com has the links to Discord, and then also, of course, to Twitch if you want to catch live streams as well. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel. I'll catch you next episode. Farewell.